It definitely sounds like some changes are about to come to New York City, guys, right? NYPD officials issue a blunt warning to unruly migrants. Guys, things have been getting a little insane in Manhattan lately, right? Specifically when it comes to all the criminality that seems to be coming from a small segment of the migrant population, guys. But let's go ahead and check this out immediately. Let's jump into it. I'm always down for a change.
Eric Adams announcing plans for a curfew on the Randall's Island migrant camp after 2 migrants assaulted a security guard. And then a migrant was to death there earlier this year. Remember that. Adams also changing his tune on the city's sanctuary status as the Big Apple faces a migrant crime wave. Watch.
I don't believe people who are violent in our city and commit repeated crimes should have the privilege of being in our city.
Guys, that's actually gigantic for him to say. Based off of all the things that he ran on, this is actually a big deal.
And most people agree with that. Adams' remarks coming after the of Georgia nursing student Laken Riley, her accused killer, a Venezuelan national who illegally entered the United States in September of 2022 through El Paso, Texas. ICE says he was arrested in New York City last August, but he was released before ICE could actually issue a detainer.
Yeah, on like dollar bonds, guys. Keep this in mind. Pay $1, you can get out.
Joining me right now with the facts of what's going on is NYPD Chief of Patrol, John Schell. Chief Schell, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for coming in.
My pleasure.
I want to explain, I want to talk to you about what's going on with this. You're seeing a new crime wave. There are 175,000 migrants in New York right now. Tell us about this new crime wave that you're experiencing.
Well, what we've been seeing with the migrants and the crime wave, if you will, is robberies and purse snatches on mopeds, which we took care of. We'll talk about in a moment. We're seeing pickpockets on the train, pickpockets in Times Square. We're seeing domestic, and most recent now we're seeing mob-like activity. People going to stores, Bloomingdale's, Sunglass, LensCrafters just the other day, snatching glasses and fleeing the store.
I saw that video of the same thing at an Apple store.
Correct.
They go in like a mob and they just start taking everything.
Correct.
And what's crazy about these two statements, imagine going into an Apple store, that's the silliest thing in the world. As soon as you leave the store, all of those phones start basically melting down, guys, right? They just instantly delete themselves and permanently lock themselves if they get past the threshold. The stupidest thing in the world is to take anything from an Apple store. I'm telling you. LensCrafters, bro, you need prescriptions for the glasses. What's the point? 2 absolutely idiotic places to take things from, bro. But hey, listen.
Video of the same thing at an Apple store.
Correct.
They go in like a mob and they just start taking everything.
Correct. So this is what we're seeing right now. But just like any other crew, if you will, a group of people, we don't care who you are. But when the moped robberies and purse snatches were taking effect earlier this year, we arrested all of them. And guess what? We don't see it anymore. So we have some crews with the migrants committing crime. We're going to deal with them like any other crime wave we have and put them in jail. And quite frankly, what the mayor just said, if you come to this country seeking the American dream, and while you're waiting for your status to be upgraded, and you're committing violent crimes against New Yorkers or this country,
you gotta go.
You should be put in jail, and once that term is over, you forfeit the right to the American dream and get out of our country.
Yeah, I'm so happy to hear you talk about this, Chief, because this is exactly how most people feel. It's how I felt when I saw that illegal come out of being processed and give everybody the finger. And I'm thinking, why isn't this guy on a plane back to wherever he came from right now? What is he doing, giving us the finger now?
A complete slap on our face. And also gives the migrants who are here who want to seek the American dream, who want to work and want to contribute, gives them a bad name. We're talking about a small group of people, not the whole 170,000.
Right. But and I think that's the big thing here. The woman that's speaking, I think this is probably my second encounter with her ever, right? He's a little more sane, it sounds, right? But either way, yeah, absolutely. It is not every single one of those individuals. It is a small group of them that is making everyone look terrible.
It gives them a bad name. We're talking about a small group of people, not the whole 170,000.
Right.
But we're going to deal with it, and you're not going to harm New York City. You're not going to harm this country. We're going to try to put you in jail like any other group. And like I said, you forfeit that right.
Well, the NYPD seems a lot tougher on this. You're dealing with it. You're in the front lines than the judges, than the
Ooh, guys, we can't show that. Not on YouTube.
DAs. Do you think you're resonating? Because I know that as soon as you said this is about no consequences, I notice all of a sudden we hear a comment from Kathy Hochul, and all of a sudden we start hearing comments from other people. You and your team are doing this every single day. Do you think you're resonating and changing what's going on in terms of the DA level?
Sometimes. Let's talk about recidivism. Okay, I'm going to give you two critical stats here. We talk about retail theft. In New York City in 2023, 542 people were locked up for theft. Were locked up 7,600 times. How in God's name does this happen?
What happened?
We saw last week the transit conductor sliced on his neck. One more inch, we're having a different conversation. All right? Doing his job. Last year, 38 people locked up for assaulting transit workers, mostly conductors. They were arrested a combined 1,100 times. What is going on? What has changed? Well, I'll tell you what's changed.
Go ahead.
Bail reform changes. Now, some parts of bail reform is good, but let's talk about discovery. The DAs privately applaud us because discovery thrust upon them, they cannot do their job efficiently. Let's talk about judges. If the judges is not going to accept the bail request for recidivism and let people walk out the door, that's hurting the community. The judges are part of the process. I'm part of the process. The district attorney is part of the process. The judge is part of the process. Our elected officials are part of the process. And if you disagree with what's going on, like most of us do, then the change you want, vote for the change you want. Because pre-2020, we didn't have this issue of recidivism. We could deal with it. Now it's harder and harder. And it's,
I mean, keep in mind, it's also, I hear what you're saying here. It's definitely harder and harder, but it's also harder and harder for the overall population. And generally, when things start to get really, really hard, sadly and unfortunately, crime starts to peak, right? And that's just the reality of like the world based off of history.
It's hurting our city. And you want to know why transit crime is up?
Go ahead.
Recidivism. Unbelievable. This is the kind of conversation that is going to change things. Thank you for being so adamant about this and for telling the truth and for fighting for New Yorkers. That's what you and your team are doing. We've got this new John Jay College of Criminal Justice study on bail reform. It finds the number of repeat offenses increased as a result of the New York soft on crime policies. In the suburbs and upstate, 66% of those released under bail reform with a recent prior arrest were arrested again.
And that's why it was so important for the mayor to say what he said earlier in this video.
Within 2 years. How do they not know this? You just said this. You live it. Nearly half of the defendants were rearrested for a felony. Under New York's current bail law, there is no money, bail, or jail time for most misdemeanors and nonviolent felonies leading up to trial. So, Chief, that's the point. There's no consequences.
Correct. And there's no consequences, and you have recidivism. Do whatever I want.
Right.
No, we can't have this anymore. We have to go after recidivism. You just gave out some great stats. I'll give you one more.
Go ahead.
People locked up for felonies. 6 days later, they're locked up for another felony. What world is this that we're living in? When the process works, it's fantastic. When there's a breakdown of the process, you know who suffers? The everyday New Yorker going to work and about their business.
Yeah. Right.
I'm a New Yorker. I'm a cop by day. I'm a fan.
Oh, bro, it's obvious you're a New Yorker, bro. Your accent is absolutely magnificent. All right, I lost my accent. I left a long time ago. Right, but listen, your accent is magnificent. I just want to stop the video to tell you that.
Family mad at night. I have children out in the streets working, taking the trains like everybody else. I suffer from this also.
Yeah.
You know, enough is enough. We are going on the offensive. We're going to start calling people out respectfully. Do your job. If everyone does their job, I'm not here talking to you this morning.
I'm so glad you said that. Chief, I want to get your take on something that a senator told me is about to blow up, and that is trafficking. And I want to see what you're seeing in that regard. I spoke with Kansas Senator Roger Marshall on Sunday, and he told me that the Chinese Communist Party is working with the cartels. And they're getting people in over the border, and then once they're in America, they need to pay up. They need to pay the dealers. And how are they paying up? They're working in these massage parlors. Here's Roger Marshall. Watch this.
Okay.
We're seeing an explosion of trafficking. The Chinese Triad, which is an organized crime unit, a multinational, been around for hundreds of years, is behind this. And wherever you're seeing trafficking, you're going to see trafficking explode as well. We have more massage parlors than we do Starbucks now in Kansas. And certainly I think that can be said in most every state. So this Chinese Triad, I mean, they are sophisticated. Your listeners need to understand that this is not the dirty workers like the cartel. The cartel is doing the dirty work, but the Chinese Triad is very sophisticated, Harvard-trained lawyers, Harvard-trained accountants that master the money laundering part of this. So you're going to see massage parlors spring up, and then next to them might be a restaurant, it might be a hair salon, a nail salon, those types of things.
He says all of these businesses being started up are fronts for trafficking. Are you seeing that in New York, Chief?
Absolutely, whether it be Asian or immigrant coyotes that women have to pay back. These women are 100% victims. It's terrible. Where are we seeing this mostly? In Queens, Roosevelt Avenue. We have shut down this year about 13 brothels that are a mixture of Asian workers and migrant workers, and we're still going after it. And it's.
Well, I mean, the Asians are still migrants. You don't just think a migrant specifically is, from South America, Central America, or Mexico. Anyone that's coming in is a migrant by all definitions, even if they're from Sweden.
Terrible. The community applauds us for it, and we're trying to help these women who are victims of these people. It's terrible. The Queens DA is working with us very well with this. The local elected officials are working with us, but it's a problem. We see it.
Wow.
And we're dealing with it.
That is incredible, Chief, that you're seeing that in New York as well. I was so stunned by Roger Marshall there. Talk to us about this. They're also coming in through the southern border. You see increasingly laced in everything.
So right now, the common mixture of cocaine, heroin, there's going to be in it. Small doses, 2 grams can kill you, 2 grams.
Wow.
We have seized as a city 800 kilos of pure in the last 2 years, with a street value of $32 million.
Wow.
It is so dangerous, and it does not discriminate. It doesn't care who you are, where you are, from New York City to the Jersey Shore to wherever else. 2 grams of a young person just using it, maybe peer pressure, can kill you, can literally kill you. It is so scary that we have Narcan with us. When we're around, we have to wear masks. The dealers notice, and the people buying it on the street don't know this. It's terrible.
This is unbelievable.
It's terrible.
And it's coming, the underlying components from communist China. How are you doing in terms of ensuring that you've got enough manpower out there? I know.
Did you say communist China?
There was a time there when the Democrats wanted to defund the police. People were like, I'm not going to become a police officer. Why would I? I don't have they don't have my back. Do you feel you have enough manpower? Do you want to speak to anybody who's considering perhaps joining the force?
So the police department's a great job. It still is a great job. I've done it. I've raised a family. Come join us. It's a noble taking. But yes, we have a little bit of staffing issue. We're down a couple of thousand cops. We have a tremendous recruiting campaign to get people to join. We have some classes lined up. But years ago, thousands and thousands applied for the test. Now we're not getting that much. So we're going to keep getting the word out. Come join the department. It's a good living. It's a noble uptaking.
We could not need you more than today, and we appreciate your work and your team's. Eric Adams announced.
All right, so really quickly, when it comes to specifically the Chinese coming over through the border, through our southern border, it's an interesting thing here because they know as soon as they get through the border, we can't send them back, right? And the reason why we can't send them back is because by them leaving and immigrating here, right, their country, as in the country of China, refuses to take people that are deported from the United States of America, right? So they are permanently landlocked, and they know that. They absolutely know that, and that's the part that's absolutely wild. So it doesn't surprise me that they're dealing with some type of cartel, guys, at all, because, again, how can you get to the border? Because apparently our borders are not even owned by us. They're owned by whatever cartel is in that region, guys, right? So, yeah, you will owe them money. And we can't send them back because basically they become stateless, right? They have all their documentation becomes irrelevant. Hence the reason why, if you notice, there are a lot of videos popping up of all of the Chinese passports that are that are just on the ground at the border, right? It doesn't even matter; like their passports are irrelevant now, right? Their documentation doesn't mean anything because their country, as soon as they stepped into the United States of America through the border to claim asylum, their country threw them away, and they know that. But all right, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly. Guys, before we go, are you guys subscribed to the other channels? Logical Movie Reviews with Mr. L. Boyd, along with Mr. L. Boyd Music. Both are found in the description. Check it out.